You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 715 of the Dressage Radio Show, official podcast of the United States Dressage Federation on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products and the Murdoch Method. On this week's episode, we chat about biosecurity with veterinarian Camilla Jamieson. We get an update from Wendy Murdoch, and then Judge Fie Anderson gives us a tip about impulsion and collection.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, hi, Phil. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I mean, the weather temperature-wise has been bouncing around a little bit, but I mean, that can make for some fresh horses after, if you get a week of warm weather and then a cooler days. I mean, but it's all good. Yeah.
That was us last month. There was some praying because they were so used to Florida, and then we came back and it was warm, and then it was snowing, and then it was like, oh my goodness. So I feel you. We're a month ahead of you. We just had that discussion of like, do we put the sheets away? And I was like, maybe one more week, but they're heading in that direction. They're heading to the washer is what's happening for sure.
Well, I think this week is our first CDI in Ontario, so
yeah, that's right.
Exciting. It's about 4 hours. It's in Ottawa, so that's not something that we would normally go to. I mean, it can be warm weather, it can be nice, but it can also be snowing and raining and all this stuff. So,
I'm scared of shows in May. They make me nervous. We have a show, our like local show is at the last weekend of May, and that's usually hot. It's usually okay. But May is really Derby weekend. We've been to too many wet derbies to go to horse. No. I'm like, I'm going to hold it home for a few weeks. So so I get what you're saying. So anyone that's braving the weather.
I mean, perhaps, people are, getting that show into, hopefully there's some riders who are chasing the Pan American dream, right? We were just chatting about that off air. So
we were just talking about that off air, and we will update you. I haven't heard much. It's been pretty quiet on the U.S. side. I haven't heard anything. So as soon as we do and we get some updates, we'll try and get some of the riders on and talk about their Pan American journey. So I love it. So Phil, you guys, when is your first show? Is it coming up?
Mid-June. That's a safe time. And then, I'm
with you. And then you go full tilt for like 12 weeks. You almost have your own Florida, because it's so short the time that you can show.
Florida
you
North.
Get really busy. Florida North. You get really busy for the summer months. So I love it. Yeah. Well, we have a great show, but I'm really excited about this. Everybody, I hope you enjoy this, because I really made Phil read this because I'm excited. On howtodressage.com, what do the dressage letters mean? There are a couple theories. And Phil, tell us about theory one. I'm excited about this.
All right. So at some point before 1918, markings were seen on the walls of the stable yard of the Royal Manstall, the Imperial German Court in Berlin. The marks indicated where each horse was positioned by its groom to await its rider. I've heard this one before.
Yeah.
This was essential because the stables housed 300 of the Kaiser's horses. So it's just an organization technique. The yard itself was called the Hof. The yard measured roughly 20 by 60. So the letters marked on the walls indicated the following. A for Ausgang, so that's the exit. B for Bannerträger, that's the standard bearer. F for Prince. H for Hofmarschall. K for Kaiser. M for Meyer, that's the steward. R for Ritter, which is a knight. Okay, so these all make sense, right?
These make sense.
Yeah, V for vassal, which would be the servant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. That all makes sense.
But there's an absence of C. So we don't know what C was.
Hmm.
So, I know. So that's an interesting theory. I could get behind that theory. I've heard that theory before. There's also theory number 2.
All right. It involves the German cavalry. The space between the stable blocks and the barracks measured 20 by 60 and was used for general assembly and morning exercise. It's logical to assume that the cavalry will adopt similar markings that their predecessors from the Kaiser's court.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, rolling cavalry with theory 1, right? Because it's not separate theory. It's kind of built upon it, right?
I like it. And the first manual was published in 1882. And you can see the diagram of the indoor arena, the Ratchabahn, measured 40 by 20 meters. So that's interesting. I don't know, everybody. We wanted to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess, this will be an ongoing discussion
Right. So if anybody knows more, email us, because we thought that this was kind of interesting. And it's still a mystery. Nobody knows. And I think that's what's so interesting is we all follow these letters religiously, and then we don't really 100% know the history. But I think these are 2. I kind of like I like the combo of 1 and 2. That seems to make the most sense to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we just thought that was a little bit of fun. We wanted to bring a little fun because we got a really fun show tonight. But our next interview, I think everyone's going to really appreciate it. I appreciated this interview from Dr. Camilla Jamieson about biosecurity at horse shows. So we hope you learned some stuff.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
Did you know that easy keepers and horses on restricted diets are often at risk for vitamin and mineral deficiencies? Most easy keepers are maintained on hay, and some get a few handfuls of grain a day, and most of these horses get little to no green grass. Diets that don't include significant levels of green grass or recommended amounts of fortified concentrates just don't supply enough vitamins and minerals. Many horse folks don't realize that hay alone, even high-quality green hay, is not an adequate source of many vitamins. For example, when grass is cut and dried for hay, the vitamins quickly lose their potency. 70% of the vitamin E found in grass is lost in the first week after it is cut for hay. One way to ensure that your special needs horse is getting all the vitamins and minerals he needs is to add a vitamin and mineral supplement to his diet. A well-balanced supplement will provide the nutrients your horse requires without adding unwanted calories, starches, and sugars. Microphase, made by Kentucky Performance Products, is a vitamin and trace mineral supplement that bridges the gap in your feeding program. With Microphase, your horse receives adequate and balanced vitamin and mineral nutrition without unwanted calories or other ingredients. The minerals in Microphase have been chelated, a process that protects minerals during digestion and increases their absorption in the intestine. Microphase provides vitamins such as vitamin E in a natural form, so your horse receives optimal results from this supplement.
This Nutritional Minute has been brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. You can find all of their terrific products at kppusa.com.
Well, tonight we are thrilled to have Dr. Camilla Jamieson. She is an internist and currently the Associate Professor of Large Animal Emergency and Critical Care at Purdue University. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you guys tonight.
Well, we're thrilled. Well, we also want to tell everybody she is also a dressage rider, but she's got her doctor hat on today. And this is a great topic because I think it's really pertinent for all of us. And when we were talking this morning, you said, why don't we talk about biosecurity at horse shows and how not to bring anything home with you? And I was like, that is an awesome topic. So I'm going to let you kind of take it away on safety for that because it's great.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, the weather's getting better. Everything is, starting up again. It's springtime. Everyone wants to get out and show, but it's always such a big concern you're mixing a whole bunch of horses that haven't been mixed for a long time. They're never going to see each other again. And you never really know. I mean, health certificates are great, but all a health certificate really says is that at the time that horse was examined, they were not showing any signs of disease. So hopefully every horse at any show that you're at will have a health certificate to come onto that premises. They'll have a negative Coggins if you're in America. And then beyond that, there's not really any, they're required to have vaccinations at most shows, but depending on where you're showing, the vaccine requirements can be different. And there's not really any requirement for anyone to declare what may or may not be wrong with a horse or what may or may not be going on at a barn back home where these horses have come from. And then also there's a number of conditions, and I'm sure everyone is aware of the number of different equine herpes virus outbreaks that have happened around the world recently. But both herpes and strangles are two very contagious respiratory conditions that can have really serious implications down the road. And both of those can be carried asymptomatically and transmitted before you even know that your horse might be carrying them. So basically, not to terrify everybody, but horse shows are the worst possible thing we can do in terms of biosecurity, because you take a whole bunch of horses that don't know each other, mix them together in usually an enclosed airspace, and put them in a relatively stressful situation. So from that point of view, I thought talking about some really practical things that we can do that every day, everyone from, grooms, kids, through the most experienced riders can do to help minimize some of those risks and keep our horses as safe as possible so that we can all have the best show seasons that we can.
Well, I think there's a lot of requirements that all shows should do. I mean, from the point of view of, how do they do it at an international show? They require, temperature checks. So that was a big thing that came in. I don't know, was that 2019? But
that was after the Valencia. It was after the Valencia outbreak of EHV1, right after COVID. That FEI made it mandatory.
The world.
I think it was 2000. The app came in. I think it was 2021. Because I think Wellington.
I was going to say it was early. Yep.
Because that was the first time we started using the FEI app. So that's FEI, right? So can you talk a little bit about kind of the FEI? I think is more on top of it than national shows, depending on where you are. But can you kind of talk about the difference between those two?
Between national and FEI?
Right. For biosecurity, because biosecurity and FEI is a little bit is way stricter.
Yeah. Well, FEI is much more managed and dictated to you, and they're much more aware of biosecurity, especially at the equine herpes virus level. So when we talk about it, we talk about equine herpes virus or EHV1. There have always been vaccination requirements for influenza, and they've introduced really strict EHV1 vaccination requirements and temperature check requirements, but those unfortunately have not translated over to, as far as I know, anyone's national showing, definitely not to the national level in America.
Well, here in Canada, they've attempted to do the same at all the national shows, and only that if you're taking a horse to an international show, there's a national show going on at the same time. So it sort of kind of made sense. They've quarantined the FEI barns, right? There's a separate FEI barn where, different security thing. But I mean, horses from one stable are getting shipped to the same showgrounds, regardless of which stable they're going to stay in at the showground. So I think it just made a lot of sense. So can you talk about, what are those basic requirements that a person could help prevent disease from spreading?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the initial basic things that we talk about the most are the influenza and the herpes vaccinations, so the flu rhino vaccinations, and making sure that your flu rhino vaccinations are up to date. And if you are showing at any level, I would strongly recommend keeping up with the FEI requirements. So making sure you vaccinate on that 6-monthly schedule, because if you go back to the raw vaccine data, there is antibodies present through that 1 year period, which is what the vaccine companies say, that's the minimum that you need to vaccinate your horse. But if you are exposing them repeatedly to lots of other horses who may or may not have the same vaccine, rigor of vaccine protocol that you're doing, vaccinating every 6 months is a really, really good idea for flu and herpes. I will say one caveat to that is, because everyone's talking about the neuroherpes, and the neuroherpes is such a hot topic, the vaccine does not necessarily prevent a horse from getting the neurologic strain of herpes. And the vaccine companies are working really, really hard on developing a specific neuroherpes vaccine, but they haven't managed to do that yet. So you can do everything you possibly can to prevent and to vaccinate your horse to protect them from getting herpes, from getting the neuro strain of herpes. But, it's not something that the vaccine, even in the best, most gold standard vaccinated horse, is 100% protected from that specific strain. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about, especially that fact, why the biosecurity measures and how you minimize aerosol transmission of disease between horses is so important, because that's the other side of that seesaw. Is you can protect your horse with vaccines as much as you can, but there's only so much we can do with vaccines. And just because your horse is vaccinated doesn't mean you can be slack on all of the other things.
So what are some of those things we can do at a horse show? Just a national horse show, not an international. It's same thing. You'd be doing the same thing at both types of competitions.
Yeah. I think, some of the biggest things are not sharing tack. And I know that sounds really uncollegiate, but horse shows are, especially, at lower levels or national levels, there's often a lot more amateurs showing. You're just more likely to have forgotten something, and nobody wants to be the unfriendly person who doesn't let someone share a bit or share a bridle or share a halter. But those are all the things that are right around your horse's nose and mouth, and really do not share those. That is one of the really big things. Keep your tack dedicated to each individual horse, and don't share it between them. If you do have to share anything between horses, even just having Clorox wipes. So the nice thing about strangles and the nice thing about herpes virus is they are actually very easy to kill in the environment as long as you use a disinfectant product like bleach. And that is something that I do, is I always have bleach wipes in my trailer, and I always have a spray bottle of bleach. And if I have any concerns about anything, if my horse goes up nose to nose with somebody, I would never recommend wiping their nose out with a bleach wipe, but a baby wipe even. Yep. Just anything you can do to reduce contamination between horses. And then the other really big one is like water troughs and drinkers. Do not let your horse drink out of communal water sources, especially for strangles. But, and those are the things that don't happen at FEI, but they are the things that absolutely do happen at national level competitions. Just those times when horses share space and share nose-to-nose, anything that is nose-to-nose contact or mimics nose-to-nose contact.
And what about temperature taking? I mean, that's a pretty good practice, isn't it?
Yes. And honestly, you should be taking your horse's temperature twice a day when you're at a show, regardless. And one thing I will say is it's a really good thing to do if you are going to be planning on showing a lot, is to just do it for a week or two at home. And make sure you know what your horse's normal is, and know, first of all, just get them used to having their temperature taken. Not all horses are totally okay with you taking their temperature. Train them so that it's not something weird and unusual that you're doing at the show. And also know where your horse runs. Make sure you have a thermometer that works, and any sign of a fever. So your horse should be, if you're in Fahrenheit, you should be between 97.5 and technically, if you look in textbooks, it'll say 101 or 101.5. But this is where learning your horse is normal. Most adult horses are not above 99, and starting to learn, because that early difference between, if your horse is always a 99 at home and they're 101.1, if you Google it, it'll usually, you'll see that's within normal range, but that may be a whole degree higher than your horse is normally running. And that may be the very beginnings of them starting to run a fever. And the sooner you know, first of all, the more fair it is on your horse. You can pull them from competition, but the sooner you can take action, get your vet to look at them, get them isolated from anyone else. And if everyone was doing those things, then all of our horses are that much safer.
Right.
Well, here's what I was going to say about the biosecurity thing, is that it's everyone's responsibility, going to a show to make sure that you're bringing a healthy horse. Exactly. Right. So, I mean, even recently, we had a small, whatever it was, a thing go through the barn, and three of the 10 horses had a bit of a nasal discharge. Then we just say, okay, we're going to shut everything down. Right. I was supposed to go to a clinic. I called the clinic organizer. I said, I don't think I can go, that kind of thing. And don't pass stuff around. Like, and
Right.
you know, for my own horse, we had a vet scheduled to come in to do a dental exam, and I just called that vet and I said, no, like, you know, if you don't mind, it's not a good idea for you to come. Can we reschedule for 2 weeks from now? Yeah. You know, it wasn't an emergency appointment, but you know, vets appreciate that. The clinics appreciate that, and everybody who's like bringing a horse to that clinic is should appreciate that anyways. And then, you know,
exactly.
Turned out he was okay, and that worked out fine. But I mean, it's just be prepared to, you know, who do you know who's coming to the barn? If you've got a farrier coming, and they've been to, you know, like all of these biosecurity measures should be practiced in your own barn, and feeling like you're responsible for every other person and horse that not only you but the professionals coming in to do work on, you know, on their feed, and the vets,
absolutely.
you know, I mean that's personal responsibility.
Right.
And transparency, and being open and being flexible, being willing to reschedule, all of those things that you're saying are so appreciated from the vet side of things. It's so appreciated if somebody, and you don't even have to say why necessarily if you don't want to share that, but you know, if you know that your owners and your riders are taking that personal level of responsibility is amazing. And I always feel a little bit like you want to do the best you possibly can, but also prepare yourself for the fact that other people might not be, you know,
as conscientious about these issues.
Yeah. You don't want to blame anyone else for anything, but you have to be prepared that not, and the really hard thing also, you know, the three really big things that I worry about in terms of biosecurity are equine herpes virus, strangles, and salmonella. And the really scary thing about those three are that all of them can be shedded, especially strangles and salmonella can be shedded from horses, especially in times of stress, with absolutely no clinical signs. So you can have a horse that has salmonella and they're an asymptomatic carrier of it, and they shed it in their manure.
So
and if another horse eats that grass where that horse pooped, and and your horse is immune, is naive, they can get incredibly sick. They can get horrible colitis, diarrhea. But the horse who is shedding it, you know, up to 20% of horses in stressful situations, whether they're sampling at horse shows or sampling in hospitals, shed salmonella without showing any signs of it whatsoever. And it's about 5% of horses shed strangles.
No kidding. Wow.
And
oh my gosh. Well, we could keep you online all night. And now I'm significantly grossed out. I'm like, oh, gross. But anything else? I mean, so we're not sharing tack. We're taking our temperatures. We're making sure our horses are up to date on their vaccinations. Their health certificates are up to date. Making sure our neighbors aren't bringing sick horses. Anything
and I think
we're
the last thing I would
stuff.
say,
We got our wipes, you know.
We got our wipes.
We're
disinfecting
spraying down
stuff.
the stall. I mean, that's something that, you know, I've personally been, just spraying down the stall to say, okay, you know, I just want to make sure that, you know, that's an easy.
There's some great over the counter.
Before you put your horse in a stall, you know, spray.
We got our breathe bottle.
Just make sure you just make sure that anything left over from the previous horse, you know, spray it off and wipe it down. And especially, you know, if there's communal water buckets or anything like that, or waterers. I know some of the places around here have waterers, automatic waterers. Make sure you dump it. It fills with fresh water and you wipe it out. But the other thing, just going back, bring your own bucket. There you go. Bring your own bucket and don't turn off the water. Don't let them drink from that. But the other thing, and this is, I think, the other one that's really easy to forget about going back to the salmonella, is don't share pitchforks outside of your own stabling. You know, keep pitchforks to the horses that travel together, and manure, like manure buckets, because anywhere that you're introducing fecal material from a horse that you don't know into your horse's stall or into your horse's environment is putting them at risk for picking up salmonella.
Oh yeah, that's a great tip, because I mean, we've all done it. We're like, oh, hey, you're dumping. Let me just put this in here. So or you borrow that.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And if you do, and if it does, have that bleach around, spray the bleach, let it dry. And then as long as the surface is dry and there's no organic material, so there's no like poop left over on it, salmonella is killed by bleach very, very easily. So
cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Dr. Jamieson, anywhere we can find you or more information about this, that would be amazing if anybody has any more questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available. You can find all of my information online. Feel free to shoot me an email. It's cajamies@purdue.edu, which is CAJAMIES for son at purdue.edu, which is PURDUE.edu. Otherwise, the AAEP has a lot of really good resources. So if you Google AAEP and then either vaccine guidelines or biosecurity or horse show biosecurity or salmonella, they have a whole lot of PDFs available. And some of them are aimed at veterinarians and some of them are aimed at owners and riders. So yeah, those are the main resources I would direct people to. And so yeah, feel free to shoot me an email.
Oh, well, fantastic. Thank you for this information. It was amazing and very helpful and good for all of us to be reminded how to
not to ruin the show season with these terrible, like, I feel like it's always such a negative thing to talk about, but yeah, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So
exactly. Well, thank you so much. This was awesome.
It's been wonderful to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Especially with performance horses, flies can really be a nuisance. Fly predators are a great investment. Of all the different poisons and insecticides and different things you could use, I don't know of anything that is more economical and more effective than Spalding fly predators.
Well, we are so excited for this month's Where's Wendy? Wendy Murdoch. Where are you, my friend? And how you doing?
Where in the world is Wendy? It's so funny. I am doing great. I am in Lexington, Kentucky this weekend for the AAETT conference, where I'm going to be presenting Surefoot and riding together, mounted, unmounted. They have me down for like 5 demos. I am so excited about this.
I know. And everybody, did Wendy call me? I mean, I'm a little fussy with her.
You're going to be out of town.
I am actually going to be out of town. I'm giving a clinic in St. Louis. Shout out to my girls in St. Louis. I'm really excited. So I'm teasing Wendy because she's like right in my neighborhood and we're literally missing each other, which is such a bummer. But
the AATT is the American Association of Equine Therapists. Did I get it right? There's one more T
and
in
technicians.
There.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You got it.
And you're going to Midway University, which is a great university, which is fantastic.
So I remember Midway when I was here in, I will say it, 1984 to 1980, actually 81 to 86. It was a college back then. Now apparently it's university. This is like awesome.
Right. That's right.
Really awesome.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm really excited. There's going to be like a lot of people there, and they're doing it virtual and live, which will be really, really interesting. I'm not sure. I haven't done that before, but it's really exciting because what they're doing is unifying the technicians and the therapists, because we need national representation for, equine therapies. And, I just saw a post today on Facebook talking about how somebody couldn't get a vet to their horse. And the vet crisis is huge. The large animal vet crisis is huge. So we really need to figure out a way to have recognition for the other therapists that can help out and do a lot of this stuff. Like in the human world, we have PAs, right?
That's right.
And I think if we're really going to be able to come up with a solution for the veterinary crisis, we're going to have to figure out something like that. So this is a really interesting program, and I don't know how new they are, but I've known them now for a couple of years, and they're really working hard to get, create like national standards and that sort of thing, and recognition for people and certifications and all. So I think it's a really awesome organization, and I'm really proud to be their speaker this weekend. And I am going to be so busy.
I know. I love it. Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And you're really busy launching another program, right?
Yeah. So the whole rider is really coming together, and I didn't focus on letting you know I was coming because I was too busy working on the whole rider course. It's like it has to be done for me to go on safari. So while I would have loved to actually start it a little bit later, this is where I'm at. And we are coming in now. We're going to be launching the end of this month. So if you haven't signed up for the early interest wait list, you just type in thewholerider.com. That's THEWHOLERIDER.com and get on the early interest wait list, because we're going to be releasing free videos. We got 3 free videos and a free on-demand webinar that I'm doing. And I've been doing these surveys of my people, and the latest one I did, I asked them, are you a lifetime rider, a returning rider, or just now getting to live your dreams? I couldn't believe it. Like 60% of my audience are lifetime horsewomen, which is like fantastic that these people have been able to keep going. But, the other survey I asked was, do you have pain and do you have fear? And it seems like as we get older, we're a little more concerned about things. And so one of the things I'm going to be addressing in the free videos and the on-demand webinar is strategies to help us deal with this. And I've been talking to a lot of people. I'm going to have some amazing guests when I launch the course that are going to join me on the course and really help horsewomen keep doing what they want to do, which is ride and, be with their horses. And they're riding like 3 times a week, the majority of them. It's just really, really awesome. And it's been really interesting to do these surveys and learn more about my audience. I had one woman, she is the oldest exercise female jockey up in Saratoga. And I'm going to try and get her for a webinar because I think that is so amazing.
That is so cool. That is awesome.
Oh, and did I very true. Oh, I do have one more thing. And I don't know if you saw it when I put out my email about the Kentucky. I know it's like we haven't talked in a while. Gronk was with the FanDuel commercial with the horse that stood on surefoot pads before she went on stage. I've just lost the woman's name. Yeah. Luna's the horse's name, and she goes to stand on her surefoot pads, and then she goes on stage and does her commercials, and she was with Gronk. Now, I don't think Luna really appreciated that, but OMG, I know that other people who saw the commercial thought it was fantastic. And
that is crazy. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. I love it.
We made her special black surefoot pads because on stage, everything has to be black so it doesn't show up. So we have now made special black surefoot pads for Luna so that she can do her stage stuff and still get her little spa moment on her surefoot pads before she goes on stage. I'm actually thinking about doing a limited edition run just for Luna. I think that would be so awesome.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. Well, Wendy, as always, we just love chatting with you. How can our listeners find you online for more information about everything you're doing?
Okay. Oh, and hi, Phil. I know you didn't say a word edgewise, but I want you to know I know you're there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hi,
Wendy. He knows.
Poor Phil.
He knows. Get on here. Just go for it.
So if you want to be on the early interest wait list to get the free videos for thewholerider.com, you go to thewholerider.com and just put your email address in and you'll be on the list, and we'll be launching that at the end of this month of May. Otherwise, you can go to Murdoch Method on Surefoot on Facebook. And of course, Surefoot is surefootequine.com or Surefoot Equine on Facebook. So I'm going to make it simpler for people. I have pulled back wendymurdoch.com, which actually I've had for a million years, but I had it parked, and I'm going to make a homepage, a landing page to help people figure out what part of my world they're interested in, and so I can get them in. But stay tuned on that one. I haven't done it yet.
So cool. Well, Wendy, as always, thank you so much, and have a great weekend here in the Bluegrass.
Thanks, and I'll miss you. I'll say hi to you all the way up in St. Louis. Okay, bye.
Even under the best circumstances, travel is stressful for horses. We've all been there, stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You can make the journey knowing that US Rider is there for you. Get peace of mind on the road with US Rider's nationwide 24/7 roadside assistance coverage for both you and your horse. Join today at usrider.org.
Well, for this week's trainer tip, we have Fie Anderson. She is newly appointed large R dressage judge and FEI rider and trainer. Fie, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, you've got a great tip for us. Can you tell us about it?
I can indeed. So my tip this time is speed is not impulsion and collection is not slow. Now, that might seem very easy to, speed is not impulsion. In fact, when we try to create impulsion and end up speeding up our horses, we kill the impulsion. We lose the swing in the back and the through-ness. And on the flip side, when we ride collection and we try and bring the horse back to us, if we lose the activity, we lose everything. Without some forward inclination, we cannot create collection. We lose the hind end. and it makes it much harder for the horse to do whatever we're trying to set it up to, whether it's a canter pirouette or piaffe. They have to have some quickness behind.
So, I'm going to ask you a bit of a, maybe not the easiest question here, but if you had to choose one, which side of the coin would you prefer?
Personally,
too fast and running, or too slow and dragging feet?
Well, for me, a swinging back is really important. So I would almost rather have a little slower behind that I know that I can quicken up than a horse that's running hard into my hand and stiff as a board in the back. Now, that's personal preference, and I'm sure other trainers, riders would have a different view on this. But I know I can get a horse quick. I want it soft in the back first, and then I can get it quicker if I need to.
I'm in your camp too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, like you said, a personal preference. That's why I asked, and I had no idea what you were going to say, but I think I mean, depends on the horse, right? I think it's better to ride each horse the opposite way to which it wants to go.
Right. Like if you have a horse that just is very naturally supple and swinging, then you can push it a little bit more without losing that if that elasticity is natural. Where if you have a tight horse that does not like to swing in the back, then that is definitely not one I would push in that direction. I would do whatever I could to loosen up the back and get more swing in.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great one. So once again, speed is not impulsion and collection is not slow. So I think that's an awesome tip. Well, Fie, thank you so much for this tip. How can our listeners find you online if they have any more questions for you?
I am on Facebook. I usually use my personal Facebook page, and it is Fie Anderson. And then I have a very silly TikTok channel where we do fun stuff. Nothing serious there. The more serious stuff goes on Facebook.
I love it. Thanks, Fie.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, as always, we love emails and Facebook shout outs. Keep them coming. It makes our day. And don't forget, we still have our book club of the month or quarter going on. Eric Smiley, The Sport Horse Problem Solver, what works, what doesn't, and how to make it better. And I'm still, if you still hear me, I'm still a little bit sick. But I've been trying to rest a little bit in the afternoon, and I've been reading the book. So I'm really enjoying it. It's great. I think everyone will really like this. I think it will hit home. I'm sure you'll find a chapter or two where you're like, oh, that's my horse, or that's my friend's horse. So I think you'll enjoy it. So keep reading, and we will get our auditor on very soon. As always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guest on our page at horseradionetwork.com. Search Dressage Radio Show. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me is probably search my name on Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week for allowing us to put on a good show. That's Kentucky Performance Products and the Murdoch Method. If you'd like to support our show and the Horse Radio Network, you can do that through the auditor program found at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you in a couple weeks.